wanted to talk today about a very dear Dharma friend, Jim Blumenthal, who died during the night. And Jim must have been, I would say, early 40s. I first met him in the late 90s because we were both students of Geshe Zopa when Geshe-la was teaching the Lamrim Chenmo. Geshe started in the Lamrim Chenmo back in, I think it was 98. And we were both there, and for many years after that, when Geshe was teaching, Jim and I were both there. And I think he got his PhD under Geshe-la. I can't remember exactly. But he had a very close link with Geshe Zopa and with Yangtze Rinpoche, and also with Jangse Chögyal Rinpoche, and of course with His Holiness. And Jim studied for a while at Sarah Monastery, I know too. And then he later went to teach Buddhism at the University of Oregon, and then when Yangtze Rinpoche started Maitripa, Jim went there as a professor too. One of the, and Jim and I, we didn't know each other. I mean, it wasn't the kind of friendship where we kept in touch with each other a lot, but actually I don't have a lot of people I keep in touch with a lot because there just isn't time. But there was a lot of closeness between us in any case because we shared the same teacher, and we both had teachers, I should say, and we had this, this mutual understanding about the Dharma. And one of the things that really impressed me most about Jim, why I think we had that close Dharma connection, was his amazing humility. He was a PhD. He was a practitioner. He had accomplished so many worldly goals, in his life. But he was always very, very humble. And whatever Dharma he had accomplished, he was always very quiet about it. And just, when you met him, he was just somebody who embodied the kind of faith and devotion to the teachings and the teacher. I think those are the qualities that always struck me about Jim. He wasn't flamboyant and out there, but he just was very steady and determined in his study and in his practice. And always a very kind human being, too. I don't remember ever seeing Jim get irritated, Of course, I'm sure that happens, as to the rest of us, but, certainly in my dealings with him and observing him all those years at Deer Park, I never saw that. My big sadness in Jim's passing is not only for him, and of course his family and the people who love him, but that he had so much potential to be able to benefit sentient beings, with his education, with his practice, especially with helping Maitripa Institute at the beginning. Having somebody like Jim on staff there, and the example he showed to people of a practitioner, I think that many people, that's a loss for the many people who could have benefited from Jim's life had he lived longer. He got cancer. He had colon cancer, I think, and it was already quite serious by the time they found it. And it seems like he really took a turn for the worse over the weekend. Liver failed, and then he was hospitalized, and they said they couldn't do anything about it, so he returned home. So I'm glad that he knew at that point that he was dying, because, when you know clearly, then you can prepare the mind. He was scheduled to start hospice today, it seems like, but he died before that could happen. Yeah. So, and he died quite young, you know, I think around 40, early 40s. His son, Ben, I think Ben must be about 6 or 7 now. Jim loved Ben so much. It was very sweet to see them together. Yeah, so I wanted to tell you, you know, about Jim because I think there's something we can learn from his life about humility and determination and stick-to-itness, and also about, you know, just impermanence and how we all think death is going to come later, and bam, it comes much sooner than expected. And so therefore it's really, you know, we really need to practice well now while we have the chance. So let's make prayers for his good rebirth. Yeah. And also, you know, for his family and for my Treatment Institute family who will, you know, really miss him. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, you know, Geshe Zopa taught the Lamrim Chenmo over a really long period of time, and different ones of his students worked on the 5 volumes that they were coming out with, and Jim did the volume on concentration. So it's waiting to be published by Wisdom, but he was the one who, you know, went through that, helped with the translation process, editing, clarifying points and everything. And that's going to be a huge contribution when it's published to Buddhism in America, because Geshe-la was such a fantastic teacher. And, you know, we only have access to that through Jim's hard work because we weren't there when Geshe-la taught it. So we have to thank him for that as well. And he also wrote a book on Shantarakshita and the Yogacarya Svatantrika Madhyamakas. It's in our library. That was his doctoral thesis. Yeah, so a lot of, you know, people's exposure to Shantarakshita, who was an incredibly famous Indian sage. He was the one who brought the Vinaya lineage to Tibet. It's due to Shantarakshita that the first monks in Tibet were ordained. And he was the one, together with Guru Rinpoche, who really brought the teachings to Tibet in the 8th century, I think it was. Yeah, and he was, Shantarakshita was a great logician and practitioner as well. So, yeah, Jim had some kind of karma with him, karmic connection with him as well.